Hi everybody, it's good to see you through this video. I'm good to hear from you through the discussion board this week. I want to take a look back just a little bit at what we learned about content and language objectives in week 10 and look forward a little bit to the lesson plan project that you have coming up. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, looking at the content and language objectives, this is really important because you as teachers will encounter this over and over again. It's something that you will learn on a daily and weekly basis. You'll use this on a daily and weekly basis as teachers, and you'll also use this throughout your time here at UTEP also. So let's just take a look. This is an example of some content and language objectives and also some TEKS and ELPs that I pulled up just for an example to use with you all. So let's just take a look. These are fourth grade TEKS or TEKS. You might hear them referred to in both ways. Just depends on how you choose to say that. That I pulled from the fourth grade standards. So these are your content standards that you would be teaching as a fourth grade teacher. These are from the science TEKS, and so this is 4.7c. It's a science TEKS saying identify, and students will be able to identify and classify Earth's renewable resources, including air, plants, water, and animals, and non-renewable resources, including coal, oil, natural gas, and the importance of conservation. So this is your content standard. This is what you're trying to teach. This is what the state of Texas says that students should be able to do in fourth grade. As a teacher, I'm going to take that content standard that I'm trying to teach, and I'm going to write it in a format, first of all, that I as a teacher understand and that my students understand, that I could write it on my whiteboard in the front of my classroom if I was back in my physical classroom, and my students could understand that today, this is what I am going to be able to learn to do. So my content objectives for this particular lesson that I might be teaching might say something like students will be able to classify resources into categories of renewable and non-renewable. And I might have a second one that goes along with this. I might break it up into two, saying that students will understand the importance of conserving our natural resources. Now I'm going to take that over to my language objective. So this is how I'm going to accomplish this content objective with my students. So the ELPs, if you noticed, those of you who already took a look at the ELPs last week, are long. There's lots of them. But they're the same for all grade levels in Texas. And so I might take, depending upon how I'm choosing to teach this particular content standard, I might take this one, and it says internalize new and basic academic language by using and reusing it in meaningful ways in speaking and writing activities that build concept and language attainment. Now, why did I choose this one? Because for this particular lesson, one of the things that I like to do with my fourth graders is have them write an advertisement for a particular type of renewable energy. So maybe I'm having them advertise solar panels or advertise using wind energy, and it's something that they want to sell to a particular person as a type of renewable energy that they should use. And so the reason why I'm choosing this particular language standard from the state of Texas is because they would then be using speaking and writing activities that build both concept and language attainment. Now, if I write this on my whiteboard, my students are going to not even read it. They're not going to understand what that means. So the language objectives, both in an understandable format for me as a teacher and for my students to understand what they're going to be doing probably this entire week of learning, is that students will create an advertisement for a renewable energy source using written English and vocabulary learned in our renewable energy unit. So the key word there is writing, written English. And then a second one that I might have is that students will present their advertisements orally to their table groups. So there again, my language objective, what they're going to be doing with language in order to accomplish the content objective is that they're going to present that advertisement orally. My key word there is orally. They're using their spoken English that they're learning. You kind of want to think of those language objectives as how are they using reading? Are they using writing? Are they using their listening? And are they using their speaking skills? Those are your four key words to know that this is a language objective that's helping me accomplish that content objective. So listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Those are my four key components of language to help me accomplish that content objective. So those TEKS and those ELPs, those are coming down to me from the state of Texas, right? The TEKS are my content, my pieces of content that I'm trying to teach, and I'm going to turn them into an understandable content objective for my students. And those ELPs are those language standards. I have my content standards, my TEKS, and my ELPs are my language standards. I'm turning them into content objectives and language objectives that are understandable for my students, so that my students understand what objectives are accomplishing in my classroom also. The reason why I want to make sure that we all understand this is because you are going to get to do this. You're going to write a lesson plan together with a team. And the reason why this is important and why I say this with some excitement is that this is something that as a teacher you're going to do over and over again, right? And so I want you to have some practice at it. So let's take a look at this lesson plan project. It's not due this week. It's due next Sunday. This is not something that you should wait on. It's something that you should start on now, today, okay? So it's due next Sunday. I'll have you working in the same teams as you worked with on your PSA project. I did create those teams somewhat intentionally. If you take a look and you get to know each other a little bit, there should be someone in each of those teams who is going after a bilingual certification. I tried to divide up my special ed people as much as I could and divide you up so that you have somebody that's in different certification areas represented on each of those teams. And that's what you do as a classroom teacher also. You divide up your students in different ways, right? I want you to look back through the syllabus for the different core concepts of the course so that you're making sure that you have all of those different core concepts of the course taken care of in that lesson plan. Take a look at the rubric, use it as a checklist, and we'll look at it right in just a minute here in the video. And then the lesson plan asks you to make sure that you incorporate all of the components of SIOP. I'll take a look at this with you in a minute, but those components are found just to help you out on pages 97 through 98 of your textbook if you're looking for them. So let's take a look in Blackboard at where you can find the important pieces of this lesson plan project. All right, so I am here in the home page of our course, and if I come over here to syllabus and course content, this is again where I'm going to find sort of the main pieces of the course, and I'm going to come down here to assignments. And I'm going to scroll down until I find the lesson plan assignment. And this is where you're going to find the main pieces of this assignment. And so the first piece here is the lesson plan guidelines. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. It will download a document for me, and that document looks like this. And this is where I told you to take a look at the syllabus for those core concepts of the course. Make sure that you take a look so that you know that you're including all of the things that you need to in your lesson plan. And this document will give you some of the important items that you need. I'm going to come back here. Next is a lesson plan template. If you click on it, it will also download a Word document for you. It looks like this, and this is important because the very first thing that you see here is the content objectives and the language objectives. These two things you need to make sure that you're talking about as a team. You have your content standards and your language proficiency standards, so your TEKS and your ALPS. So that's why I went through this just earlier in this video on that PowerPoint. Make sure that you figure out first what it is that you're trying to teach for what grade level and what topic. And then if you scroll through, this is a very detailed lesson plan template that you're being asked to fill out. And I'm going to just scroll through here so you can see a little bit in this video, but very, very detailed in what you're asked to be filled out, what you're being asked to fill out for this lesson plan, okay? And this is what you'll actually turn in. I'm going to come back here. The last thing that's here is a rubric. And I would really encourage you on any assignment that you turn in for your courses to look at the rubric first, because this is a nice checklist so that you know what it is that you're being asked to do. And you can make sure that you've covered all areas before you turn it in, right? And so I always like to look at the best, the highest amount of points to make sure that I've hit it. I'm not aiming for this amount of points, I'm aiming for this amount of points, right? So one of the things that you're being asked to do, I'm going to come down here to where it says include SIOP strategies. It says uses all 8 SIOP components throughout, and components are accurately applied. And that's why I gave you those book pages for where those SIOP components are. At this point in the course, you might want a little review of what SIOP is and what those components are. So take a look back at the book to make sure that you know what it is you're looking for those SIOP components, okay? So let me come back here. If you have any questions about the lesson plan project or what it is that you need to do, please feel free to email me. Please do so this week, because next week you're going to want to make sure that you're working on that with your team and that you don't have any confusion or any inconsistencies within your team members. So please do send me your questions, and I look forward to seeing your work. This should be kind of an exciting culmination of the topics we've covered in the class. Have a great week, everybody.